Oh, man. 11 years ago, it was actually over 11 years ago, TNA left Spike TV. That was the best television that they ever had. It was the biggest audience they ever had. And the company really has not been the same since, ever since they left Spike. So getting television on really any network other than Access TV was imperative to TNA if they were going to try to grow their audience and just grow the brand. So when they made the announcement a few months ago about the AMC deal, it was great news. And it is great news for the company. No matter what we talk about here today about this debut installment of TNA Impact on AMC, it is a good thing that TNA is on AMC now. And you would think that, especially for their big debut here on this network, that they would put their best foot forward and try to really hit a home run. Because I think that, when you debut on a new network like this and you're trying to reel in new fans, you really want to just grab them by the throat and just pull them in, right? You want to find some way to just pull those fans in and make them go, oh my God, I got to tune into this show next week and the week after that and the week after that, right? That should have been the mission. And of course, they have a pay-per-view to promote on Saturday as well because we have Genesis coming up. So tonight was the big debut on AMC Network, which, if you forgot, they certainly reminded you many, 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 many times here tonight, which is understandable, but it is impossible not to know where the show now is being broadcast. One thing I don't understand, before anything else, I don't understand how it is possible that this show has worse production values than it did 11 years ago. Like, when we're thinking back to TNA in 2012, 2014, how is it that they had better production values then than they do in 2026? How have they regressed since then? Because to me, that was one of the things that was actually very noticeable when they came on the air tonight, was how different it looked. And I don't mean that in a good way. So I don't know how that works or how that's possible. There's a lot of things I don't understand about this show. Forgetting the production value stuff. I don't understand bringing Perez Hilton in for this show and paying him more than $50 to do what he did. He didn't have a huge role on the show, but that was sort of the big celebrity they were promoting, and he was also promoting it on his social media heading into the show. I don't know who that appeals to. I don't know whose idea that was to even invite him to be there. So that's one of those things I don't really understand. I also don't understand them multiple times cutting to a shot of the parking lot outside the venue in Dallas where they were and showing a virtually empty parking lot. I'm not sure who came up with that as a production idea. Like, hey, let's cut to an empty parking lot outside. That was actually kind of funny. Not something I would have done, but they did that more than once here on this show. And I mean, you can just go down the list here. We had three matches on this 2-hour show. And the rest of it was filled with various other segments and promos. AJ Styles made an appearance, didn't do much of anything. It really did feel like AJ was more of almost like a make good, because there were reports that WWE might want to use Leon Slater on their European tour. And I'm not sure if Leon Slater, look, it ended up being a visa issue, and I'm going to get into that here in a second, but I just wonder if it was almost like, well, you're going to be missing Leon Slater, or some people will give you AJ. You can't really do anything with him, but at least he can make an appearance on the show. And AJ Styles just making an appearance was at least good enough for TNA to be able to promote for a few days. They didn't have a lot of time to promote that Styles was going to be on the show, but it's a good thing they didn't go overboard on the promotion, because again, in the end, he really didn't do anything. He didn't factor into anything. He did appear in a few different segments briefly, but if you were tuning in thinking, okay, well, the last time we saw AJ Styles, he showed up and cut a promo and put over Leon Slater, and so this time maybe they have something a little more involved in mind for him, and nope. He actually did less of this time than he did back at Slammiversary, the last time we saw him. But I'm watching this show, and I'm just thinking back to Eric Bischoff, and I have questions that people will send me asking me, what do I think about Eric Bischoff saying, and I guess he said this multiple times now, this is the year where TNA is going to become the #2 wrestling promotion in the world. They're going to become #2, right? Watch out, AEW. And it was nonsensical when he said it before, and I didn't take it seriously because it's just complete bullshit. And now that I have seen this debut episode of Impact on AMC, I would hope that we can put this shit to bed once and for all. First of all, their main focus shouldn't be becoming #2. Their main focus should be putting on the best possible show that they can, right? And everybody else will worry and pick nits about whether or not they're #2, #3, or whatever. But I hear this, and again, people take it seriously. Oh, do you think it's possible they could become the #2 promotion? No. No. It was nonsensical before when he said it, and it's nonsensical now that the first show is in the books. So I don't want to hear about that anymore. But I mentioned that there were some visa issues with some talent. And I'll just read to you here. This was an update that was posted earlier by Mike Johnson on pwinsider.com. TNA has undergone rewrites and will be changing some plans leading into tonight's premiere and Saturday's Genesis pay-per-view. The changes were necessitated by a number of international talents no longer being able to perform as processing for 2026 work visas had not been completed by the U.S. government. Surprise, surprise. The issues would impact talents from the UK and Canada specifically. X Division champion Leon Slater would be the biggest name waiting for approval that we have heard. There are several staffers from Canada who are also not able to travel to work while the processing is still in flux. TNA management and creative have been working on alternative plans and ideas over the last 48 hours, we are told. And that is unfortunate. It's one of those circumstances that, I would say TNA has no control over it. I don't know how the process works where TNA is concerned and how early that process was started. Did people drop the ball on it? Did they wait too long? Or is it just that everything's a fucking shit show now and it was really out of TNA's hands? So it's unfortunate that, it affected plans. Obviously, Leon Slater was originally going to defend the X Division title on this show against Myron Reed of the Rascals who are no longer employed by TNA. The Rascals have jumped ship and they are now working for AEW. So that match was likely not going to happen anyway, even though Myron Reed apparently said he would be willing to still do the match and do the job. Even if Leon Slater was able to wrestle, who knows if that match actually would have taken place. I'm guessing it would not have. But as I'm watching the show, something that struck me. There were multiple video retrospectives showing past moments in TNA history, past stars and legends that have appeared for TNA over the years. And some of the great champions, the X Division. They had a video on the X Division. They had a video on the Knockouts Division. They showed the beautiful people and all of these different individuals. You know what I would have rather have gotten here on this show? Instead of a video showing the Knockouts and how great the Knockouts Division has been over the years, it would have been nice to get a really great Knockouts match. We had a Knockouts tag team title match tonight that was not good. It would have been nice to get, like a one-on-one really good Knockouts match to illustrate the Knockouts division and the talent that they have in that division, instead of getting a video on it. And it would have been nice to get, in a similar fashion, a great X Division match. Maybe not X Division title because the champion wasn't available, but he's not the only one in the X Division. It would have been nice to get a really hot X Division match. Maybe right after that AJ Styles, opening segment, or at the top of the second hour or something like that, instead of getting a video about all the great X Division champions that we have had here in TNA history. And we didn't have any of that. Instead, we had Mike Santana, who was out there doing his damnedest, doing Mike Santana things and doing his damnedest to salvage this show. He is once again the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Mike Santana never should have lost the TNA World title to begin with. If you think back to what happened, Mike Santana, this great story about him struggling and clawing and scratching his way to the TNA World Championship, and finally he does it at Bound for Glory. He gets his moment, and his daughter is in the ring, and he presents the belt to his daughter. He bows down to his daughter. What a wonderful moment, right? Finished his story. And then TNA basically, I think, went on hiatus for a month, took a vacation. They come back, and the very first event, the very first taping they do, he loses the championship. First fucking night back. And they take the title off of him in some ridiculous angle where he is beaten up by the jabrones of the NXT roster, the NXT mid-card. And then they tried to shoot some kind of dumb angle where, remember, Santana can't be reached. TNA management is calling his phone. He's not returning texts and phone calls. What's going on with Mike Santana? They were trying to work some of the dirt sheets. And then Carlos Silva said there would be an investigation and all this nonsense. And where the hell did that really go that made it all worthwhile? It was all bullshit. Also what? They can do a rematch for the championship here on AMC. You could have done any number of great main events here on AMC. I get the idea, but he never should have lost the championship in the first place. So, of course, it was the right move for them to get the belt back on him because he never should have lost it to begin with. Not that soon. So now he's the TNA World Heavyweight Champion again. Easily the best thing on the entire show. Kind of fell apart a little bit there towards the end. It got a little messy there at the end. But easily the best thing on the entire show here tonight. And now he goes into Genesis this Saturday. There's going to be another match. They're going to run it back again. And they're going to do Santana and Kazarian again. Nick Nemeth supposedly was going to call his shot on this show. Because he's got the whole call your shot gimmick. And he was going to come out at the end of the match. He never did. In fact, he wasn't even on the show. His brother was on the show. He was not on the show. I can only assume because they're saving it for the pay-per-view this Saturday, where he will call his shot. And hopefully they're not dumb enough to take the belt right back off Santana for a second time. So there was no Nick Nemeth, and no, there was no Chris Jericho. There was not, because again, these dumb rumors that go around, and you know they're gonna bring Jericho in, and like I'm watching this show. I'm maybe half an hour into watching this show tonight, and I'm just thinking, man, can you even think? Can you even imagine in your mind? He's been gone for almost a year. Everyone's talking about him coming back to WWE and being in the Rumble. If he had come out tonight on this show, like I'm sure the people in the building would have thought it was cool. You know, we have, wow, this actual big surprise here on this show. But like, no, of course, Jericho was not going to be on this show. And I'm sure Jericho was probably watching this show going, it's a good thing I'm not debuting here on this show tonight. I'll wait for the Rumble. So there was no major surprise. They had a few surprises. They had a few names pop up here on this show, but there wasn't that like one big surprise. Even at the end of the show, I was thinking about that too, like in terms of hooking in the viewer. They had Santana win the championship back, which was fine. But I was wondering if there was something that was going to happen, or if somebody, even if somebody was going to like walk out and make an appearance and you kind of go off the air with a little cliffhanger, like, what's this person doing here? And they opted not to do that. They gave us a clean, well, mostly clean finish in the main event, and they just went off the air. There was really nothing out of the ordinary, you know, at the very end of the show. They kind of let the title change speak for itself. What they did tease on this show was AJ Styles potentially going after Frankie Kazarian and the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, just to go ahead then and take the championship off of Frankie Kazarian later in the show. So I don't know what that was about. AJ Styles, if it were up to him, he would wrestle a match in TNA. This is going to be his final year in wrestling. We don't know how long or how deep into the year he's going to go. If it were up to him, he would have probably already wrestled a match in TNA. It comes down to WWE and Nick Khan and Paul Levesque and whether or not they want to allow that to happen. And if so, who would it be against? You could do AJ Styles and Frankie Kazarian, but you know, without the belt on the line, that takes some of the excitement away. Because you certainly could, if you wanted to, put the world championship back on AJ Styles, you know, a few months down the road, one last time, I suppose. I don't see that happening. But Styles being on the show and not really doing anything, that was kind of disappointing. Didn't get physical with anybody, nothing. And the one tease they gave us was for a match that now would not even be for the championship. So that was a little bizarre. But I mentioned some surprises. Sonya Deville. The surprises, honestly, were limited to the Knockouts division. Sonya Deville, who we have not seen on television since she was released, or I guess her contract was allowed to expire by WWE. She is now officially a member of the TNA roster. And I assume she'll wrestle but she is going to be in a position of power. She's now going to be the heel authority figure on the show opposite Santino Morelli. He's the director of authority. She's the director of operations. So she was on the show tonight, and her first order of business was to introduce the newest member of the Knockouts division, the former Cora Jade, Elena Black, who has not wrestled a match since leaving WWE last year. She is now a part of the TNA Knockouts roster. And do you know who else we had on the show tonight? Dixie Carter. Yes, it's been quite some time since I was doing my Impact reviews and talking about delusional Dixie. Now we're going back to the old days of the sound. This is like old school sound off now. Dixie Carter walks out there, and the fans don't forget, she got booed out of the building tonight, which just goes to show you that at least we know the people that were there in the building tonight, those are the real, like, OG fans. Like, these are the diehard TNA fans, the ones that remember the Dixie days. And they didn't seem very happy to see her. But even she made an appearance here on this show tonight. So they had a few, like, minor surprises like that. But when the show was over, I just felt, man, what a missed opportunity this was. This was not a show that I feel compelled to watch again next week. And I won't be reviewing this show. Like, this is one and done here. I'm not coming back and reviewing the show every week. That was never the plan anyway, and it sure as hell is not the plan after tonight. I came away from this show just feeling, man, this was just a misfire. This was just a disappointing show. I don't know any other way to put it. You know, I mean, you watch this show, there's absolutely nothing that I saw on this show tonight as a viewer, or especially if I were a new viewer, that would compel me to feel like I have to tune in again next week. We'll see if I'm right or wrong, I guess, once the numbers come in, but that's my feeling coming out of this show. As the show was going along, I was just waiting for it to kick out of first gear. It never got out of first gear. It was like in neutral the entire time. And it didn't help that, like WWE, when they tried out these dumb D-list celebrities that nobody either knows or gives a fuck about because they're on Netflix, so we got to have all the Netflix celebrities in the front row. This guy's from this Netflix show and that guy's from that Netflix show. It's like, okay, great. Who gives a shit? Now they're doing the same thing here, which they have to because they're on a new network, right? They have a new master to serve. So AMC is going to want to promote their shit and they're going to want to promote their stars. And I guarantee you most of the people watching this show tonight had no idea who these people were. And probably don't even watch AMC outside of TNA. This is probably their first time watching AMC. And there was way too much of that. There was way too, it's almost as if they really took this show and patterned it after a WWE show. And I don't mean that in a good way. Right down to the post-show credits. And I don't know if that's something TNA started doing a while ago and I just never noticed it, or if this was the first time they did that, right down to the producer credits on screen at the very end of the show. It's like they may not be owned by WWE, but you could tell, they're in business with WWE. And they are in many ways subservient to WWE and trying to model themselves after WWE since they work together. And I don't know. I don't see that as being a good thing either. I think you need to kind of carve out your own identity. And maybe that's the biggest issue with this show. When you look at the two big main national promotions, right? You have WWE and you have AEW. With AEW, one of the criticisms about the show, and some people may not look at it as a criticism, right? The AEW fans, the AEW sickos, they love this shit where it's just all action all the time, right? Match, party match, not like nonstop every single week. And then on the WWE side of things, sometimes we don't get nearly enough action and we have too much of, promoting this and celebrity that and video packages and long entrances and commercials, right? So you want to find kind of that happy blend. What TNA gave us tonight, they didn't give us anything that we don't already get from the other two shows. The other two shows, they have taken the majority. Like they have the market share of talent in this country is pretty much locked down by WWE and AEW. So their rosters, especially the AEW roster, it's so bloated, it's unbelievable. They have so many people under contract. And their rosters just dwarf the TNA rosters. So they already have this wealth of talent, a lot of which they don't even know what to do with some of that talent. But like everything I just described, we get that either from AEW or WWE. Pick your poison, whichever one you like. What does TNA offer that is so different from WWE and AEW? How did they differentiate themselves on this show? It felt like I was watching WWE light with worse production values. There was nothing to differentiate them in a way that really makes you feel like you need to watch this show every single week. And that's something that hopefully they can work on in the weeks to come. This was night one. And they'll get their sea legs under them. And hopefully as time goes on, maybe they can find their own identity. It didn't feel like they had their own identity tonight. They were relying more on their past identity with all looking back at the past and how great TNA used to be. But they don't really have their own identity. They don't have their own like style and way of doing things. Like they're taking from here and they're taking from there. That's my biggest issue with them right now, just based on what I saw here tonight. Let's talk about what happened here on this show. This is your TNA Impact on AMC review here for Thursday, January 15th, 2026. I see you, Issa. Hey, Issa, don't. Hey, I told JD. What was he? He made the comment when we were doing the year-end awards. What did he say? TNA promotion of the year. Don't think I didn't throw that back in his face. Promotion of the year. I didn't forget that. What's going on, Issa? I am the Solomonster. This is your Impact on AMC review. 5th day in a row of shows for me, going back to Sunday. We have day number 6. Tomorrow, because we have SmackDown from Manchester, England. I'll be watching that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. More wrestling. Non-stop wrestling. Like and subscribe. We are climbing very close to 90,000 subscribers. Super chats are open as well. So if you would like to drop one, be reading all of your messages. I would love to know what you thought of Impact tonight if you watch the show. So feel free to chime in on that. And we have some Brie mode here on the stream. Hey, Brandon Proctor, thank you. It is time for the wheel. We started this last night. So we have the wheel here before we get into the review. And normally 400 likes is the minimum to do our Be the Booker segment, but we're going to throw it to the wheel. There's a lot of different likes totals on this wheel. And we're going to take this for a spin, and we're going to see whatever it lands on. That is the minimum number of likes that we need to do Be the Booker tonight. I think me spinning this wheel may be more exciting than this Impact show. Whee! All right, here we go. Well, there you go. 400. We're sticking with our traditional goal. 400 likes. That is the minimum number of likes that we need. If we hit it, we will do Be the Booker later on tonight. There it is, the big 400. I love it. It's like the wheel new. We're just going to keep it to what we normally have it at. I love it. The other thing also that I wanted to mention, for those of you who may have missed it, there is a brand new installment of a very fun segment. Now it's its own full-blown show. It's a full-blown oos now. RSPW Rewind. Nearly an hour long, too. 50 minutes. And it is up right now for channel members. Here on the channel, you have early access to it. Everybody else will get access to it next week. But if you are a channel member and you missed it, go check it out when we're done here. I had a lot of fun putting this together, and hopefully you will have fun watching along. Some of the comments about John Cena after he debuted in 2002 and on into 2004 and 2005. There's a lot of Dave Meltzer posts about him as well. Anyway, that's up right now, so go check that out. Become a channel member, and everybody else, you guys will get it next week. Old school RSPW. You know, 2002, I may have to start looking up some RSPW posts about the early days of TNA. Maybe that'll be for the next installment. It gives me a good idea. So they were live tonight, TNA was, from Dallas, Texas, and they had what looked like a good crowd. By no means was the venue full. One thing that TNA was very good at when they started hitting the road back in, I want to say, 2010, it was actually around the time probably that they went live on Monday nights and they got slaughtered. The Monday night skirmish, which did not end well for TNA, so they immediately moved Impact, I think, back to Thursday, whatever day of the week it was. They got the hell away from Mondays. But they were taking the show on the road, and they were running these venues, and they were not selling out. But they had a knack back then, and AEW does this also now because they don't always sell out. But they were very good at making it look like it was full. Making sure that, like, on the hard cam, like, it was all filled in, and they had these loud crowds, so it sounded and looked like it was sold out, but it really wasn't. So it looked pretty full in the building tonight. It was a smaller venue, very much like Dynamite. And in fact, this venue, the Curtis Culwell Center, is the one, I believe, when AEW runs Dallas, this is the building, I believe, that they typically run in. Again, I laughed out loud when they cut to a shot of the parking lot outside as they were hyping up the show. And, like, I'm not even joking. I think there were 2 cars in the parking lot. Like, why are you showing this? Where is everyone's car? Did everybody walk to the building? Is the building within walking distance of, like, a main area? Did everybody Uber to the Curtis Culwell Center? Where are the cars? I don't know. Kind of appropriate, though, I think, in many ways for a TNA show. So after an opening video package, they kicked off the AMC era of Impact with a WWE star. But in fairness, he is the biggest name I would say the biggest name in TNA history, especially in terms of homegrown talents, and that would be that man on screen right there, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, kicking off the AMC era of Impact here. They all took the bus. I think they did. I think they had like a big party bus that probably bussed people into the venue. I think you may be onto something there. They had Dixie with them on the party bus. Is there a train stop around there? I will throw that to somebody watching who is familiar with that area. Maybe there is a train that's close by, and the majority of people chose to take the train. I don't know. I don't know.
My curiosity is killing me just like a cat would be killed by the curiosity, yeah.
Says no. DFW is an expansive area. You don't walk anywhere in Dallas or Texas for that matter. Well, there you go. There's your answer. First thing I noticed once AJ hit the ring was how small the ring was. It reminded me of the first TNA show I ever went to live, which was here in New York at Webster Hall. So it's a dance hall venue. It's not a traditional venue you would run for a wrestling show. So they had limited space. The ring was so fucking small. And I'm like, I was in one of the first few rows. And I just remember sitting there with my brother and I'm like, I've never seen a show in a ring this small before. And that was in 2008. So that's kind of what this ring reminded me of. Like, there's no way the usual TNA ring week to week is this small. I don't think. So that was the first thing I noticed. So AJ told us that he would keep it short. And I'm like, no, please do more. I want you to keep it short. They promoted you for the show. I don't want you to just come in and wave hi and leave. But he's like, no, I'm going to keep it short because we got some wrestling to do. Oh, yeah. We have a whole 3 matches on this show tonight. We have a lot of wrestling on this show. And he welcomed us to the house that AJ Styles built. And he told the fans, you are TNA. You are the TNA Nation. And it all starts with those 3 letters, TNA. And he led the crowd in a TNA chant. And he said, let's create some chaos. He didn't do this. I don't know where this came from. Before they cut to the new video intro for the show. And I was just like, is that it? Is that the last that we're going to see of AJ Styles on this show? It wasn't, but really it may as well have been because he really didn't do anything for the rest of the show. AJ was double parked. Well, if he was double parked, he wasn't double parked in the parking lot because there were no cars in the parking lot. So where exactly would he be double parked? See, I'm having more fun with you guys than I was watching this show tonight. I knew this would happen. I love it. He was double parked. Where was he double parked? Oh, man. So from AJ Styles, they went to the Hardy Boys and Elijah goes, "Hello, my name is Elijah." It's the easiest gimmick in the world. You just take the Elias gimmick and just replace Elias with Elijah. And he's doing exactly the same thing he did in WWE. This was his first match in nearly 6 years. 6 years. 6 months. 6 months. How long has it been since he was in WWE officially, like under contract? It's been a few years. It hasn't been 6 years. It feels like 6 years. No, but he suffered an injury. He tore his triceps, actually working a match in NXT. And so he's been gone for over 6 months. So this was officially his first match back. And he was teaming with the Hardys, who got a rock star reaction coming out. Of course, it's the Hardys. So they made their way out to the ring for a match against Order 4, which is Mustafa Ali's faction here in this company, with Special Agent 10 or 0. Is it 0? Special Agent 0 in their corner. Ali and Elijah are having a singles match at the Genesis pay-per-view this Saturday. So that's kind of the tie-in here. And it was at this point that I started getting some messages from people telling me that they were watching the show on the TNA Plus streaming service and the streaming service went dead. And basically it said the show's over. It ended the stream. Now, if you are someone who watches on TNA Plus, I would love to know if it was ever restored or if that was it. If they just simply were not able to restore the feed for the remainder of the night. Again, a very LOL TNA moment there, that on their big AMC debut night, their own streaming service would go dead right at the beginning of the show. So I think it happened actually during the Hardys entrance here. So then they went to a commercial break 90 seconds into this match. Again, very WWE-esque here. They went to commercial break, and the first commercial that we got was a Car Shield commercial. And this is an old commercial, so this is not new. But it's a Car Shield commercial with LA Knight and Ric Flair. This commercial has to be at least 5 years old. It has to be. So Tasha Steelz, at one point during this match here, she attempted to get involved. She got into the ring to distract Jeff Hardy. Matt Hardy ended up giving her and Mustafa Ali, she was on his back, a double twist of fate for a near fall on Ali. Shortly after, Jason Hotch of Order 4, he tagged in for the heel group, but quickly took a big knee from Elijah, a twist of fate from Matt Hardy, and a swanton bomb from Jeff for the win. And look, Jeff Hardy did not do too much here. He did win the match for his team with a swanton bomb. He absolutely crushed Jason Hotch. I mean, he just landed on him with all of his body weight on his way down. For those who don't know, Jeff is hurting right now. He is dealing with 2 bulging discs in the left part of his neck. So he's medically cleared, but he's not doing anything too crazy. He's not really doing a whole hell of a lot. But, you know, again, they kind of did some of the greatest hits here in this match. Jeff picked up the win for his team. Special Agent 0 got into the ring when it was over. He attacked the Hardys. And then out came Vincent and Dutch, the Righteous, who were challenging the Hardys for the TNA Tag Team titles on the Genesis pay-per-view this weekend. They helped Matt and Jeff to their feet. And then Dutch dropped Matt. And Vincent got Jeff down in the corner, and he attached a chain to, I think it was through one of Jeff's earlobes or the earring or the hole in his ear, whatever it was. He was basically chained and trapped by his ear in the corner. And then Vincent hit Matt with a swanton bomb, and that was it. There was nothing to this match. I mean, it was all about like, okay, we're going to put the Hardys out there. We're going to go from AJ Styles to the Hardys and really get people excited because these are the stars on the show, right? People want to see stars. AJ Styles is a star. The Hardys are the biggest stars in TNA right now, bar none. There is no bigger star in TNA right now than Matt and Jeff Hardy. So the fans got to see the Hardys, and they were very happy to see them, but they didn't do a whole hell of a lot here in this match. And they just were promoting a couple of matches that are taking place on the pay-per-view this Saturday. So we have a tag team title match, and so the Righteous got the last word. They got the last laugh here. Beyond that, not a whole lot to say. After this, Gia Miller was interviewing the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Frankie Kazarian in the back about his world title defense tonight against Mike Santana. But before he could say anything, AJ Styles showed up. And AJ kind of got up in his face. Didn't say anything. He was just staring at him. And Kazarian thought that AJ should say, "Thank you for the house." Hey, Alex, thank you for the Brie mode. He should have said that to AJ. AJ would have been very confused. So he said, "You should be thanking me for the house." And AJ did. But he was clearly staring at the TNA World Championship on Kazarian's shoulder. And the fans in the arena even reacted like, ooh. And then AJ walked off. So again, they're promoting a match that I suppose they could do the match at some point, but it ain't going to be for the championship now unless Kazarian wins the belt back, which would be fucking stupid. We got a promo video on the X Division featuring lots of faces who are currently not TNA stars. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Jerry Lynn. Then this is one of those segments that just really made them feel just very Bush League, honestly. And that's not how you want your product to be viewed. They go to ringside and they did the WWE thing where we're going to show the celebrities that are here because this is the happening show. Everyone's talking and buzzing about TNA. And they show Virgil Ortiz Jr., he's a boxer. He's in the front row. Then they show a bunch of content creators, they said, from around the world. And I think it was mostly reactors, like YouTube reactors. And they had them all lined up in the crowd. And so they identified each one of them and they go down the line. I saw Conman in there. Good to see him. But they show all of them. And when they do this, I don't know who was responsible for setting this shot up. But they show the content creators and behind them is just a swath of empty seats. Like it's just clear as day. I don't know why they sat them there or positioned them there. I don't know why they did that. But it was just very, very visible. But again, this was the way to show that the stars were out. So like Eric Young was in the crowd. They showed AJ Francis in the crowd. And they just kept telling us, oh, the stars are out. The stars are out. You see all the empty seats. The stars are out, right? Then they show us the stars of the AMC show Dark Winds. They were shown in the crowd. And don't ask me. I have no fucking idea. Apparently, I asked the question a few weeks ago. I said, I used to watch all of these big shows on AMC. Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. I know that at one point, I mean, there have been other shows, obviously. Not Rescue Me. Rescue Me was FX. Sons of Anarchy and Mad Men is going back a ways. I don't know what like the current really big show, like what's the big popular show, right? It's certainly not Impact. What is the big popular show right now on AMC? Is it Dark Winds or is this like a new show that they're debuting? I don't know. So what the show is about, who's on it, I couldn't tell you. Don't ask me. So then next to them, next to the stars of Dark Winds, Sons of Anarchy was FX. Okay, so maybe AMC didn't have as many great shows as I thought. I just named a couple of FX shows. No, but Mad Men was AMC, right? I know that was a while ago, though. Anyway, the only thing I honestly, outside of watching this Impact show tonight, the only time these days that I put AMC on is in October when they have their Fear Fest. It's like the 30 days of Halloween, and they show all kinds of horror movies and Halloween movies. I try to watch as many of that, or at least have them on in the background. That's the only time I ever put on AMC. I don't know from any of these other shows. But we weren't done with the appearances, because next to the stars of this AMC show, they had Mara Sade, right, who used to be in NXT, and she used to be partnered up with Lash legend, Jakara Jackson. So she's a member of the TNA roster. They showed her in the crowd. And then next to Mara Sade, and I have no idea why, but they showed Candice Michelle, who never wrestled for TNA. She wrestled for WWE, and that was like a lifetime ago. I don't even know if she's made any WWE appearances in recent years. But for whatever reason, she was there. Maybe she's local. I don't know. I don't know where she's living these days, but it's like, okay. She wasn't part of the Knockouts division, but hey, there's fucking Candice Michelle. I mean, they may as well, they may as well show fucking Wendy Richter in the crowd too. I mean, that would make about as much sense. So then Ryan Nemeth shows up at ringside. They're going to do a bit. He shows up at ringside to confront the stars, and he attempts to climb over the barricade. But in doing so, he crotches himself, because he's an idiot, I guess. And he crotches himself on the barricade. And then he got chopped to the floor by one of the stars of Dark Winds, who I looked it up. He's about 60 years old. He looked 80. But he chopped Ryan Nemeth to the floor. This was an unbelievable segment. And just think, we still haven't seen Perez Hilton yet. So after this, Santino Marella came to the ring for a promo. He is the TNA Director of Authority, and talked about not being able to get over his daughter, Ariana Grace, betraying him, turning her back on him just recently, because she's a heel now. She's all paired up with Stax Lorenzo in NXT, and they are a real-life couple. So the TNA board has decided that Santino needs some help. Oh, Santino needs help. If I'm the TNA board and I watch this show tonight, I'm convening an emergency meeting. I think there's quite a bit of help that is needed. So they decided Santino needs help, and he said he was hesitant at first. But then he was relieved once he found out who this person was that they were bringing in to help him. And so then he introduced this person. He said this person is very professional and has a lot of experience. And this person turned out to be the former Sonya Deville, who is now going by the name Daria Ray. Daria is her real name, but Daria Ray, R-A-E, like Summer Rae. She is now the newest addition to the TNA roster. She came out and she joined Santino in the ring, and he welcomed her to TNA. And she congratulated him and called Santino one of the pillars. Really? Is he one of the pillars of TNA? Okay. I mean, we've heard about the AEW pillars before. I've never really thought of Santino as a pillar of AEW, or a TNA rather, but okay. I'll go with it. But she's really like talking him up here, and she said that he deals with the good, the bad, and the ugly, yet manages to keep smiles on everyone's faces, including hers. She was really laying it on thick here. Then the switch got flipped. And she said, one thing this company does not need is you. She said they don't need his stupid jokes and his comedy relief. And she said that he can't even keep his own family in order. And his own daughter doesn't even respect him. So Santino tried to speak, and she told him to shut up. So Daria said that she's run locker rooms before. She understands television. She said that she can do the job better than him. My name is Daria Ray, and I'm the suit. So you shut up when I'm talking. So she teased leaving the ring, and she said, oh, I almost forgot to mention, I signed my first order of business here. I signed the newest addition to the Knockouts division. And allow me to introduce you, and out comes Elena Black, the former Cora Jade from NXT. She walked out onto the stage and she did a little pose, and that was it. She didn't come to the ring. She didn't say anything. She didn't do anything. First, let me just say this. I thought that when Sonya Deville was the assistant to Adam Pearce, right, on SmackDown, she did good. I thought that was a good position for her, and I thought that she did well in the authority figure role, the heel authority figure role. They even did that angle with her and Naomi there for a while, which kind of went on forever. So I feel like this is a good spot for her to be in. I don't hate her being kind of the yin to the yang that, Santino is the babyface authority figure. Now there's a heel authority figure. I mean, the whole authority figure thing is, especially heel authority figure, it's a played out trope anyway, but I think it's a good role for her to be in. As far as Cora Jade, she has not wrestled at all since WWE released her. So I don't know what to expect there. I did see there was footage just today, actually, on social media. There's video. I don't know where it's from. Maybe their IG or whatever. But I saw there was a match that she had somewhere, like a mock match with Mandy Rose. They were hitting the ropes and they were doing some moves together. I wouldn't be surprised if Mandy Rose eventually ends up in the Knockouts division in this company too. She doesn't need to, though. I don't know if they could afford her. Like, she's been very open before about the money that she's made from OnlyFans. Like, she's a millionaire now. Like, whatever TNA would pay her, she will make far more money just doing her own thing. She doesn't have to work for TNA. So she would really have to want to come back to wrestle. And even then, I'm not sure if they could afford her. But if she was going to come back, I could see her ending up in the Knockouts division. So we go backstage, and this was the final appearance of the night for AJ Styles, his third appearance. Second time here in a backstage segment. And he confronts Mike Santana, who's sitting down in a chair. And Styles says, I've known Frankie Kazarian for 20 years, and I never thought I would say it, but I hope that you kick his ass. And Styles said that he helped the company as long as he could, and now it's Santana's turn. Mind you, AJ left the company over a decade ago. It's almost like he's like passing the torch. Dude, you've been gone for how long has he been gone for? Like 12 years? 13 years? So he told Santana, do what he does best by going out there and win. And Santana stood up, he removed his shades, he thanked AJ, and they slapped hands. So he got the endorsement here from AJ Styles, and that was the last we saw of AJ. Thanks for coming. He was in Germany on Monday. He flew all the way to Texas to do a whole lot of nothing here on this show. And then he'll be off to wherever Raw is this coming Monday. Well, I guess they're going to be in Ireland, right? They'll be in Belfast. So that's where AJ will be. So then they showed the actors again of this fucking Dark Winds show sitting in the front. It's like they're contractually obligated to do this. They show these guys in the front row again. I almost want to watch this show now just to find out what the fuck it's about. I'll do a whole Dark Winds review. And Tom Hannafin on commentary thanked them for being there, like they were doing them a favor. They really want you to know the stars of Dark Winds are in attendance tonight. Then we had the IInspiration against the Elegance brand. This was for the Knockouts tag team titles. This was not the big marquee Knockouts match that I would have tried to do for my first AMC show, but this is the match that we got. Before the match, we had the concierge, the guy that was typically with Ash by Elegance and all of them. She's obviously retired now, but the concierge was there with the Elegance brand in the ring, and with them in the ring, Perez Hilton. So now we get to find out what his role is going to be here on this show. Hilton and the concierge, they insulted the crowd. So he's here to be a heel, which he is. Someone was in the ring with them, though, hiding under some white feathers. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, is this the gobbledygooker? Like, who is this? What is this reveal going to be? This could be one of the big surprises that they have saved for the show here. So the person underneath the feathers reveals himself to be Mr. Elegance, which, was a name that I was given in college. But if he wants to use it, that's fine. I didn't copyright it. It's Mr. Elegance, and I have no fucking idea who this person is. Young guy, pretty good shape, not like big or anything. Got long blonde hair, probably some indie worker. I've never seen him before in my life, but he's Mr. Elegance. So the Elegance brand women, they had the letters AMC on their trunks, and they turned to the camera. They basically had the letters AMC on their asses and showed it to the camera. This was horrible. This is what they brought Perez Hilton in for. He didn't even take a fucking bump. The least they could have done was have AJ Styles give him a Styles Clash, which I guess would have been a little risky since he's not a trained worker, but fuck, you may as well do something with him. Didn't even take a bump. I wonder how much they paid him for this appearance. We are seeing talents left and right being let go by TNA or choosing to leave because obviously TNA is not willing to or able to pay them what they feel they're worth, but they have the money to bring fucking Perez Hilton in for this show. How many viewers do you think he brought in for this show? Do you think he brought in a single viewer for this show? I don't think he brought in a single viewer that is going to stick around and watch TNA for another week. So the Inspiration thankfully interrupted this horribleness. The champions rushed the ring. They knocked the Elegance brand out of the ring, and they immediately went to a break. You know, for a show called Total Nonstop Action, we had very little of it here on this show. This is where it really hit me. As we went to a commercial break here in the middle of all this. It's like, it's not how you convert new viewers. Imagine people like have never heard of TNA or they're not wrestling fans, but they watch AMC and they say, oh, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling is going to be debuting. I have to watch this. This sounds like it could be fun. And then up to this point, I don't know how long into the show we were, maybe an hour. Like, it's horrific. Horrific. The Elegance brand worked over Cassie. M went for a moonsault. Cassie, though, got her knees up. M by Elegance, that is. Jessie McKay, she got the hot tag. She was stalking the concierge outside the ring for a little bit. McKay and Lee, they hit a double suplex on M. And then Mr. Elegance distracted the referee. The Inspiration went for their finish. The referee got distracted again. Mr. Elegance clipped Lee in the knee. And that allowed M by Elegance to roll up Lee for the win. This was a fucking mess, is what this was. But the Elegance brand regain the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. And according to Sean Ross Sapp, the Inspiration are gone from TNA. They are now free agents. This was their last night. They were doing the honors on their way out. And so that is why we had a title change here. Even more free agents now coming out of TNA, as if we haven't had a number of those recently. You could add them to the list. And that's to say nothing, by the way, of the fact that on this show next week, they are doing a Feast or Fired match, which is like an old school TNA gimmick. So someone is getting fired. Now, maybe they get fired in storyline, or maybe they get fired for real. We could have somebody else on the way out next week, depending on who ends up in this Feast or Fired match. I don't think they could afford to have anybody fired. We got a quick promo in the back with Stax and Ariana Grace, where they trashed Santino, and Grace said that Santino was wondering, how all of these NXT stars have been invading and getting into the door and making their way into the buildings and everything. And she said, the answer was right under your nose this entire time. It was me. It was me, Dad. And she said management fixed Santino's problem by hiring someone who would do a better job than he ever could. We go to the back. Indy Hartwell said that she feels like she's been in limbo ever since her dog collar match. When she was interrupted by the Elegance brand, they were celebrating their championship victory, and they threatened to send Indy on a plane back to Australia. Santino Marella was back out to the ring again. This is the second time now on the show with him. And he brought out the reigning TNA Knockouts champion, Li Ying Lee, who came out with Xia Brookside. Santino announced that, and he had a contract with him in his hand. And so Santino announced that due to an international visa crisis, Danny Luna will not be able to appear at Genesis this weekend. So instead, Lee has signed an open contract because you see she is a fighting champion. So she has an open contract to defend her championship at Genesis. And that brought out Sol Ruca and Zarya from NXT. And they make their way down to the ring. And Sol Ruka says that, we were here in town just to scout for a potential shot at the Knockouts tag team titles. But she suggested that, I think Zarya ought to answer the open challenge. And Zarya was caught off guard by this. She obviously meant a lot to her that Sol felt that way, that she should be the one to accept this open challenge. Sol said that no one is more deserving than Zarya, who then signed the contract on Santino's back. So we now have a Knockouts title match for Genesis. It will be Zarya challenging Li Ying Li for the championship. And you know what? I could see Zarya winning that title. I don't know if she will or not, but just because she doesn't work for TNA means nothing. They could very easily move that title onto her this weekend. Earlier in the day, we had another segment here with Santino Marella. 3. He got as many segments on this show as AJ Styles did. Actually, he did more than AJ Styles did. In this segment, he confronted Cedric Alexander. This was earlier in the day in the empty venue here. And he informed Cedric that who was supposed to be challenging for the X Division Championship at Genesis in a 3-way, along with Moose. And he had the unfortunate news that because of this, these visa problems, which are a very real thing, Leon Slater will not be at Genesis, which means that Leon Slater will not be able to defend his X Division Championship at Genesis. However, he does have a replacement. It will not be a title match. He'll have to get his title shot some other time. However, it will be Cedric Alexander. It will be Moose. And it will be, and he wouldn't say the man's name because you're not supposed to say his name. And Alexander was like, who are you talking about? And we ended up hearing Joe Hendry's theme playing on Cedric's phone. He pulled his phone out and there was the fucking Tron on his phone with the music for Joe Hendry. So Joe Hendry, who was already announced, I think, as making an appearance at Genesis, is going to be wrestling in this 3-way match. What condition, what state would TNA be in now if they were not able to use this talent from NXT? Like, if NXT did not have access to these TNA talents, like, they'd be fine. And I like the fact that the two companies are able to work together. But, like, if TNA did not have access to WWE talent, like, imagine the shape they would be in right now. It's kind of sad, right? Like, look at the show tonight. There'd be no AJ Styles. Sol Ruka and Zarya would not have been there. Zarya would not be, replacing Danny Luna this weekend to challenge for the Knockouts Championship. And some of these other names as well. It's kind of scary. The System walked out on stage. I said the System. That's right. We had Eddie Edwards, Alicia Edwards, Brian Myers, Moose, and JDC, the former Fandango, who is going to be retiring imminently. He's going to be wrestling his last match. So the crowd gave Eddie Edwards the what treatment. And he was talking about his match with JDC, who grabbed the microphone and got the crowd to cut it out. He basically had to be like, all right, guys, knock it off. And he thanked the fans for allowing him to finish his career in TNA. He said that the locker room is the best locker room he's ever been a part of. And the fans here in Dallas, you guys are the best fans. He said Saturday will be his final match. And it will be against his friend of roughly 25 years. And he said that he would be in the ring next week as a retired wrestler to announce the name of the newest member replacing him in the System. And JDC told Eddie that, look, I love you like a brother, but I'm not going out like a punk. He said, either you pull the trigger, Eddie, or I will. After this, we had TNA president Carlos Silva. He loves the camera. Every TNA show that I watched like 3 pay-per-views last year, and I watched this show. Every show that I've watched, he's on camera. He's always there. So he made an appearance here. He came out on stage before the main event to announce one last surprise. And I'm sure you got people watching the show right now thinking, oh man, the president of the company, right before the main event, just walked out here. He's promising he's got one last surprise. Oh my God, is it going to be Jericho? Is it going to be EC3, who's it going to be? Like, oh my God. Of course, I wouldn't be terribly excited about any of those names, but no. The surprise was Dixie Carter. And she comes out and she gets booed by the fans here in Texas. She's just a Nashville girl. But these fans were mean to her. They booed this woman because they remember. They remember the Dixie Day, the delusional Dixie days. Oh, what a time period that was. You got to go back in the archives and check out some of those Impact reviews from back in the day. Yes, the former TNA president introduced by the current TNA president. And honestly, to be fair to her, Dixie looks more or less the same. She still looks good. But yes, this was not well received here by the crowd. So she said a few words, and as the Boo Birds were doing their thing, Bully Ray came out because Bully Ray was announced as doing commentary for the main event. So they play his music, and out walks Bully Ray. He shakes hands with Carlos Silva, and he turns around and he just stares at Dixie because there's some history there. And Dixie grabs at her lower back because the last time that we saw these two in the ring together was when Bully put Dixie through a table, which I have to say was actually a very well built up angle. They built up the anticipation for that. It was like when Vince took his first stunner from Austin in '97. You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming because he had already stunned Jim Ross and he had stunned Jerry Lawler. There was only one member of the announce team left to stun, right? And it was really building to that moment. Not that I'm putting this on the same level as that, but like it was a well-built angle, and I think they actually did a good number for it. And as I recall, I think Dixie did break a bone in her back, actually taking that table bump through the table. But after a while, Bully cracks a smile. It's all good. He walks up to her. They hug. All is forgiven. He went to the ring, and that was the last that we saw of Dixie, possibly forever. And then it was main event time, with Mike Santana challenging Frankie Kazarian for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship that Santana lost his very first night that he defended it back in November. So the bell sounded. It was 10:42 p.m. There was no overrun tonight, by the way, in case you were wondering, at least by my clock. 11 o'clock, and they were off the air. So that's how much time we had left in the show. Kazarian went for a chicken wing. Santana escaped. The move, not an actual chicken wing. I am very hungry right now. But Santana escaped. He tried for his spin the block lariat. Kazarian ducked it. And Santana hit Kazarian with a step-up Rana. Kazarian dropped to the floor to try to regroup. And Santana caught him with a crossbody on the floor. And then Kazarian ducked a move that Santana went for. And he dropped him on the floor with an overhead belly-to-belly. And that took us into the commercial. Not nearly as stupid as the overhead belly-to-belly that Darby Allin took into the steel steps on Dynamite last night. That was fucking stupid. And I heard from like 4 or 5 different people today, very upset that I criticized that spot. I know, fuck me for seeing a dumb dipshit spot like that and actually reacting to it like a human being instead of a bot. I know, fuck me. So later on, Santana went for his rolling stunner. Kazarian, though, countered with a backstabber to the back of the neck. Caught him really high up back there. Kazarian slapped Santana around a little bit, but that just fired him up. And Santana fired back with some fists and some chops. And even after absorbing a boot from Kazarian, Santana did finally land the rolling $150 for a near fall. He set Kazarian up for a superplex, and the champion shoved him took Kazarian. He popped up. Popped the cork. He popped up, and he took Kazarian down with an avalanche Spanish fly. Santana then countered a pile driver attempt with a code red for a near fall. I know they gave a shout out here to the Amazing Red. I don't know if it was on that spot. It might have been earlier on when they were talking about the X Division, but you talk about notable names in the history of this company and people who innovated and were exciting and fun to watch and have been, mimicked and copied and influenced a generation of talent. Amazing Red is certainly on that list. Solomonster may as well care. Darby certainly doesn't. Yeah, I know. Stupid Solo caring about the... I know. Fuck me. I mean, shit. I know. I should just, it's not like I'm reviewing a wrestling show and giving my opinions, so I should just sit here and chant AE-dub, AE-dub. Says a lot about a section of the wrestling fan base, by the way. So Santana went for his charging cannonball in the corner, but Kazarian got the knees up, and then he hit an angel's wings for a near fall. Kazarian went for the chicken wing. Santana did the Bret Hart pin spot from WrestleMania 8. Got a near fall out of it. Kazarian hit a slingshot cutter and a springboard leg drop for a near fall of his own. And it was at this point in the match here that it was like, all right, now it feels like we're finally getting some real action on this show, right? The match is really starting to heat up. Fans are into it. And this is really starting to get good here. Which was really necessary, because up until this point, we had nothing like this on the show. We did not have a damn thing on the show like this. So this was welcome. Kazarian dropped to the floor, and he grabbed his championship belt. And the referee stopped him from using it. Santana went for his spin the block lariat. Kazarian, though, turned that into a fade to black attempt. The Hangman Page Deadeye. Santana got into something with the referee. Kazarian went for a drop kick, and he hit the referee by accident. So we got a ref bump. It wouldn't be a TNA main event for the World Championship without a ref bump now, would it? Right? You talk about old school. That's old school TNA right there. The only thing missing from this show was old Slapnuts. So the spin the block finally connects, and of course, the referee is down. So Santana goes to check on him. Kazarian grabs the belt, and he blasts Santana in the head with it. Kazarian then hit the fade to black on the ring apron. He rolls Santana back into the ring, and he covers him. And the referee is back. He counts only for 2. So Kazarian hits a Canadian Destroyer. Santana, though, pops right up, and he hits spin the block, covers him, and he got the 3. The only thing is, the referee was not supposed to count 3, but he very clearly did. You could even hear his hand smack the mat. Kazarian did get the shoulder up, though, so the referee just fucked up. And the crowd let him know that he fucked up, as wrestling fans are known to do. Santana went for it again. Kazarian now this is where things kind of fell apart here. So Santana went for it again, and Kazarian just kind of dropped down. I don't know if the spot was that he was supposed to avoid it and then do a roll up, or I don't know what the idea here was, but somehow Santana got a near fall out of it. It didn't look good. Kazarian went for a rolling lariat of his own. Santana, though, ducked and hit a second spin the block, and he got the pin to regain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Honestly, they really should have just ended it after the first spin the block instead of having him kick out. Whatever it was they tried to do there at the end, it just didn't work. So it kind of took the wind out of their sails a bit. But this was still easily, without question, the best thing on the entire show. There was no Nick Nemeth calling his shot like I think he was supposed to. Fucking Ryan Nemeth was on the show, but not Nick Nemeth, which is a questionable thing to not even have him on the show unless there was some reason he couldn't be there, because you want to have stars and people that, the fans would recognize on this show. AJ Styles was there. The Hardys were there. You would think they would want somebody like Nick Nemeth on the show, and he just wasn't there. So it's a little curious not having him there. Now, they did say Kazarian's going to get a rematch at Genesis on Saturday, so we know we're just going to put these two guys back in the ring for the championship. I presume that they're saving the angle with Nemeth for that show. He'll either call his shot after the main event or maybe beforehand and turn it into a triple threat match. If he's not on the pay-per-view, then I would be very confused by all this. And they actually just announced that he just re-signed with TNA. So, he's not leaving. He's not going anywhere. So I assume we'll see him on Saturday. And I don't know if this is something that TNA started a while ago. Anybody who watches the show, week to week can fill me in here. But I did notice they have the same producer credits now at the end of the show that WWE has. Like they just copied it right out of the WWE playbook. And they have like the executive producer, the producers, Tommy Dreamer and, Hunter Johnston and whatever the other names were. So very much following the WWE formula. They had a good match. Yeah, they had a good match here in the main event despite what happened there at the end. It was not enough to save this show. It was not enough to redeem this show. I understand that they were short a few people, like Leon Slater. And a Leon Slater match, you put like a 10 or 12 minute Leon Slater match on this show, that definitely would have made a difference. So I understand that they were without some people they originally intended to have on this show. With the visa issues, they had to rewrite some stuff. But this first show, I just felt like was a misfire. And I know it's their first, and I hope they find their foot. For their sake, I want to see them do well. And I want to see them thrive on AMC. And I want to see them find their footing as the weeks go on. Maybe they will. But as a first effort to really get people excited for this new era of TNA and to really reel people, and not even just new fans, but just wrestling fans. Like hardcore TNA fans are going to watch. Hardcore TNA fans are going to probably think by and large that this show was great. And then some of them may be honest and say that this was not the best show. But like wrestling fans, newer fans, like you get one opportunity sometimes to make a really great first impression and give people a reason to invest 2 hours of their time every Thursday night to watch your show. And I thought they missed the mark tonight. I think they failed in doing that. The next few weeks will prove me right or prove me wrong. I guess when the numbers come in, we'll see how they do. But I did not think this was a good show. And this will be the last Impact review for some time here on this channel. But I wanted to cover the first show because I thought the first show would be a big show. And maybe there would be some big things going on or surprises. We got a world title change in the main event. But outside of that, nothing terribly exciting to speak of. This is what the Twitter... Well, no, this is the Raw poll. Hold on a second here. There is a poll that I put up. I got it right here. I'm going to put it in for you in real time. Are you ready for this? You're going to see the results here pop up for the TNA poll. Look at that. I botched it like the referee did in the main event. What did you think of the TNA Impact on AMC debut? There we go. That's more in line with what I expected. 22% thumbs up for tonight's show. This now obviously this is just one poll on X, but still, that's almost 1,000 people right here so far that have voted. And there's a message here. 22% thumbs up, 78% thumbs down for tonight's show. Not good. Not good. I hope they find their footing because this is what they need. They need to, have a wider audience to appeal to, which they never were going to have on Access TV. That's why I always said, as long as they're on Access, they're never going to grow. So now they're on AMC, and you want them to thrive. You want them to make the most of it. They didn't do that tonight. The live impacts always fall flat. So the shows have to be taped, so all the awful stuff can be edited out. Is that what you're saying? So they can edit it in post? It's not the flex you may think it is. But thank you to the 900 of you hanging out with me here on a Thursday night. It's more than we had for fucking Dynamite last night. Maybe I should start doing Impact reviews on Thursdays and ditching the Dynamite reviews on Wednesdays. Anyway, Joseph Stewart. Joseph Stewart is always with us. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is. This is a happy Thursday. Let's run through these and get to the rest of your questions here. And by the way, we did hit the goal. Goal was 400 likes. We are currently sitting at 415. So we got Be the Booker coming your way. Did I watch the Wayans Brothers TV show? I think I did. I vaguely remember. Raven's documentary, Nevermore, is now available on Prime. Yes, if you are interested in Raven's new documentary, it is available. I haven't gotten too much feedback on it, but it looks kind of interesting. Would you have made Raven WCW champion if you were booking WCW in the late 90s? No. World champion? No. It says yesterday was the 34th anniversary of Michael Jackson's song Remember the Time when it was released. Are you a fan of Undertaker and Michelle McCool's podcast? Oh, you mean Michelle McCool's podcast featuring The Undertaker? No. Who do you think was the face of WWE in 1995? Diesel. Kevin Nash. That was the guy that Vince McMahon tried to build the company around. He was the face of the company for that year. And it was not a terribly great year for the company. Perhaps there's a message in there. What was your reaction when Ahmed Johnson debuted in WWE? I thought, man, this guy's intense. He's always screaming. I mean, he looked impressive. And then the bell rang. And he actually had some good matches, but kind of fell off a cliff after that. I remember the night he won the Intercontinental title at the King of the Ring in 96. He had a match with Goldust, and right when the bell rang, like right at the beginning of the match, Goldust is outside the ring, but he's like in the aisleway, so it's not like he's on one side of the ring or another. He's kind of like diagonal. And Ahmed he did like a Montez Ford dive where he charged the corner and like dove over the corner, like over the post. And he almost took a header into the fucking ground. And this is a 265-pound man. I thought he killed himself. He was reckless. He hurt himself. He hurt other people. He was reckless. That's why he didn't last. Were you a fan of the Nation of Domination theme song? Yes. I enjoyed it very much. I would pump my fist in the air just like all of them. Were you a fan of Ken Shamrock against Owen Hart in the Lions Den match at SummerSlam 98? Was that SummerSlam? Oh, I'm thinking of the dungeon match they had. I actually enjoyed the dungeon match more. But yeah, I like the Lions Den match. Ahmed always had wedgie. Yeah, he had some of that static cling. Why did WWE never do another Lions Den match? Well, because they didn't like him, obviously. If they really liked him, they would have kept him around. It was more of a Shamrock gimmick. So there really was no need to do it once Shamrock left. Then they had the Fight Pit many years later. The Fight Pit is the closest thing to the Lions Den match that they've done since then. Do you remember the TV show Hill Street Blues? I do. Yeah, I never watched it, but I am familiar with it. Do you think both Edge and Christian will return to WWE in the future? No, I do not. I mean, eventually a Hall of Fame induction for Christian is something he deserves, so he might get that. But, I mean, as far as their in-ring careers, they're going to finish their careers in AEW, I do believe. Was Eric Bischoff originally going to be the leader of the Aces and Eights? I never heard that. That's right. Solo pumping his fist to the NOD theme song. That's right. Don't diss the man or will bum rush your mother. Listen what I'm saying. It's for real, not playing. Farouk is the man. That you need to start praying. What was your reaction when Yokozuna debuted? I was like, holy shit, that's a big boy. I had the same reaction Brock Lesnar had when Keith Lee came out in the Royal Rumble. It's like, ooh, that's a big boy. What was your reaction when Kevin Nash made his debut as Diesel? I don't remember. What was your reaction when Scott Hall debuted as Razor Ramon? I thought he was cool. He always just looked cool. What was your reaction when Mark Merrow and Sable debuted? I was more interested in Sable than I was Mark Merrow. In my reaction to Hunter Hearst Helmsley, I said, "Who is this jobber?" That was my reaction. I figured he would be doing jobs for the rest of his career. What was your reaction when Chyna made her debut? I won't say. Death Scythe. Ages ago, Cody expressed interest in another match with Rey Mysterio, indicating he would like to finish their story. How would you book it? And should Dom cost Rey the match if it's for the WWE title? I wouldn't book it. I don't think that's a match that's really worth doing. Like, of all the matches and potential matches that interest me, Cody Rhodes against Rey Mysterio is not one that has entered my mind. I'm sure it'd be a good match, but you putting the power in my hands, I don't book it. Just watched the latest RSPW, and the Cena can't wrestle allegations never made sense to me. How come AJ Styles had better matches with him than any of his WrestleMania opponents? Yeah, so when I responded to you on Twitter, I misread the question. So what he was saying here, I thought when I read your question that you were saying, well, how come he had these great matches with AJ Styles? And I said, well, because he's AJ Styles. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world for the last 20 years. But what he means is, how come AJ had better matches with Cena than he did any of his WrestleMania opponents? And sometimes two guys in the ring, they just have a certain chemistry where they just work really well together. The two of them have a chemistry that, for example, John Cena and Randy Orton never had. Cena has it with CM Punk. I think he had it with Edge. And he definitely has it with AJ, maybe more than any other opponent he's ever had. And because when Cena's in there with somebody who is a really good wrestler, really good worker, not that he needed AJ Styles in the ring to have a good match, but he thrived, right? Because he could adapt to their style. So the AJ thing is just weird to me because you could argue that of all the WrestleMania matches that Styles has had, that the best one may have been with Shane McMahon, which is kind of pathetic, honestly. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'd have to go back and watch that match with Jericho. I don't remember too much about it. Maybe the match with Jericho. I don't remember that match blowing me away. Maybe if I go back and watch their WrestleMania match, I'll be more impressed with it now. What was that, WrestleMania 32? But you know what? John Cena, look at his WrestleMania catalog. He does not have a lot of great WrestleMania matches. All of his best matches were on other shows. Absolutely none of his best matches, in my opinion, happened at WrestleMania. Not one. All the best matches he had with Edge, with Punk, with Styles, not WrestleMania matches. It's just the way it goes sometimes. Can't explain it. The match with Jericho fell flat. That sounds about right. That's probably why I don't think about it when I think about these great AJ Styles matches at WrestleMania. Death Scythe. Crazy to think that we started off 2025 with the final appearance of Hulk Hogan being booed out of the building, and we closed out 2025 with the final match of John Cena being booed out of the building. Yeah, and we started 2026 with Dixie Carter being booed out of the building. Who will be booed out of the building in December, I wonder? Let's start taking bets. Who's going to get booed out of the building at the end of this year? John Cena against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania is the best WrestleMania match that he's had. But I was never in love with that match in the way that other people were. I like their Raw match much better. So you could say that would be the obvious answer, but I was never really in love with that match the way some other people were. Dried Ribs and Chicken says, he has a confession. I love the Elegance brand, especially seeing Ash by Elegance on AMC. Well, there's always one in the bunch. So you like the concierge and Mr. What's his name? Mr. Elegance? Okay. I'm happy for you. Deathsight says, I know Gunther has already been Intercontinental and World Heavyweight Champion. Can you also see him being the US Champion and WWE Champion and main eventing WrestleMania Night 2 in the future? I don't really see the need for him to be the United States Champion. WWE Champion, yes, I could see that. Headlining WrestleMania Night 2, I don't see that either. He absolutely could. I wouldn't be afraid to book him there, but probably not. I think they have that spot reserved for other people. The Uffman says, Cena does indeed mean dinner in Spanish, but it's pronounced Cena. Yeah, that was something that came up on the RSPW Rewind episode today. Maybe that's what threw me off. I'm like, I don't remember Cena meaning dinner in Spanish, but Cena. Okay. John says TNA equals total nonstop ads. It felt like it, didn't it? Very WWE-like tonight. Right down to exactly when they took their breaks. Johnny Burney says, as an AEW fan, tonight was when all you eat was ice cream for so long. You try something and end up eating lead paint. I'll gladly stick with ice cream. Are you implying that we all got lead poisoning tonight? The AJ Hernandez, 17. I'm worrying if Tony Khan will start implementing at least a 30-day non-compete in future contracts just to keep up with WWE scalping their talent. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Broly 7 felt like a low-budget Vince-booked show. It did feel very Vince-like in some of these sports entertainment segments. And the AJ Hernandez says, need to be normal sub to write. No, you got to be a subscriber for a week to be able to write in the chat. That's to weed out trolls. As you can see, there's plenty of people chatting away in the chat. So feel free to join in if you've been subbed for at least a week. It used to be 2 weeks. Actually, it used to be 4 weeks, but I lowered it to a week. Brandon Proctor with a $25 Brie mode. What's going on, brother? Loved the new episode of RSPW Rewind. Still feels weird seeing you go live for a TNA show. It is. Well, it's very unusual. I went live for 3 TNA pay-per-views last year, but not for Impact. And after tonight, that will be the last, most likely. Because unless there's some special episode again, I ain't doing this again. Duff's Vids, I'm convinced that it's not about ratings anymore. It's only about the money for all three. WWE, AEW, and TNA. 480p resolution for the first hour. I knew I wasn't the only one. Like, it looked very washed out. I couldn't believe it. Like, I just remember those episodes on Spike, and I'm like, how have they actually gone backwards in terms of like the visual presentation of their show? Like, I can understand if it was always like that, but it just looked bad. You know, it just looked very Bush League. Duff's Vids. That was Duff's Vids. Thank you, Duffs. Toya ain't nice. Solo on a Thursday. What a treat. Well, I'm glad you can enjoy it. I'm glad you're with me. Brandon says, Dixie Carter and TNA, and you're reviewing the show. Now it really feels like the old days of the sound off. It does, except I'm on camera this time. Back then, you couldn't visually see my head exploding as I was watching the show and reviewing the show. Toya says, TNA, please don't go full WWE. I feel like they're like 3/4 of the way there. Like they're trying to be, they really do. They come off as WWE light. which is not where you want to be. You want to carve out your own path. Say what you will about AEW. Look, I don't like a lot of what I see week to week either, but I mean, you can't say that they are copying WWE and trying to be just like WWE. So that's going to be the challenge for TNA. You know, what can they offer that people can't already get from the big two? That's a question only they can answer. And if they're content with just being a, you know, kind of great value version of WWE in many ways, then okay. Then that's their choice. But that's kind of how they came off tonight. Deathside says, my favorite Dusty Rhodes promo came from TNA, which was when he said, it says pro wrestling on the marquee. It does not say a midget beating off in the trash can. Philip Bowman. What did the groom say to his bride on their April 20th wedding? When I first saw you, I already knew I wanted to marry Jane. You're giving your age away with that joke. Does anybody call it that anymore? Have some Mary Jane. Base Beerus. I remember being a teenager. I saw TNA billboards in Times Square hyping up the move to Mondays. Also remember being excited to play the TNA video game. Didn't people crap all over the TNA video game and say it sucked? I never played it. But I remember there being some terrible reviews for it. Not unlike the first AEW game. A lot of really bad reviews for that too. Hey, Bo said so. What's going on, Bo? Reefers, yes. Let's go smoke some grass. Let's go get some grass. Ryan Hood, the live Impact shows have always been meh, while the live TNA Plus specials and their canned tapings are better. Well, apparently the TNA Plus stream was not better tonight because apparently it wasn't even working. Alex says, Brother Solo, good to see you in the chat here on a Thursday. What are your thoughts on the 2005 classic from Angle, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels? Do you think that level of quality from TNA can ever be reached again? Well, you're talking about Unbreakable? Because the Unbreakable match was Styles and Joe and Daniels, not Angle. I think that's still regarded as the greatest match in TNA history. It's an excellent match. There's a reason why people still talk about it to this day. And then in his very next super chat, he says, sorry, I meant AJ Styles. See? There you go. I hope I answered your question. Dude here, 73. TNA fumbled the ball tonight. Not enough matches. Shooting empty seats, bad promos, bad production, and my God, get a proper looking announcer's table. Yeah, I mean, everything about it just, again, it was just very, I'm sorry to say, I mean, I'm glad they have a TV deal, but it just came off very low rent. Base Beer says, the Highlander is in the impact zone. Paul Carpenter. Who's your favorite TNA star of all time? Says mine is Bobby Roode. Does Kurt Angle count? I mean, he has to count. He spent more time in TNA than he did in WWE. His addition to that roster was just huge. It was a shot in the arm. It was a shot of credibility that they really needed at that time. And he had great matches with almost everybody, whether it was Sting, whether it was Jeff Jarrett, whether it was Abyss. I can't really rank anybody else over him. I like Bobby Roode, especially when he went heel. I was a big fan of his work, but I think I would go with Kurt Angle. Lost Dill, been a while since I've sent in any chats. Just wanted to say thank you for RSPW and all of your hard work. Thank you, Solo. Well, thank you, Lost Dill. I saw your comment under the RSPW video. It is linked right now, by the way. I pinned it up in the top of the chat. So the link is there. You have to be a channel member. You guys get early access, and then everybody else will get access to it early next week. I had a lot of fun putting that one together. Going down memory lane through all the old posts. Believe it or not, I found what is believed to be the oldest archived wrestling post on RSPW, on that news group, from January of 1990. And I read it in today's episode. 1990. Hogan and Warrior had not yet even had their match at WrestleMania. That's how far back that post goes. It's unbelievable. Dead Kirby 22. Dolph against AJ would have been a great main event. Well, I don't know about main event, because if they were doing a world championship match, you want a main event with that. But imagine doing, Dolph and AJ at the top of the hour, right? And then closing the show with a big world title change. That would have been a nice attraction. Base Beer says, why wasn't Matt Morgan a bigger deal? The Blueprint, huh? I don't know. I mean, Matt Morgan was not, when you look at the sort of top elite performers in the company at that time, he was not better than those people. So should he have done more and gone farther than he did? Maybe. He had certain attributes about him. Namely his size, and I always felt like he moved around well for a bigger guy. He just didn't have that it factor. You know, he just didn't have that intangible that really makes him, other than the fact that he was huge, stand out in a way that makes him kind of feel like a top guy. He didn't have that. Philip says, which was worse, 2010 to 2013 TNA or 2017 to 2021 WWE? Oh, 2017 to 2021 WWE. I was reviewing TNA during that 2012 to 2014 period. I was enjoying, the reason I started reviewing Impact every week again on the sound off after I stopped for so many years was because I genuinely started enjoying the show again. Funny enough, it was around the time that Brooke Hogan started appearing on there. It had nothing to do with her, but it was like around that period of time. And I enjoyed the shows. And, I mean, I just can't sit here and tell you that 2018, 2019 WWE, and then you had COVID and there were no fans. Like, that fucking sucked, dude. I don't care what good matches we got during that period. Like, you wrestling is not meant to be watched with no fans in the audience. Like, that just sucks. I have no desire to go back and rewatch those shows. Like, for me, it has no replay value whatsoever. Philip says, Paige Moxley, Revolution 2023 or All in Texas? All in Texas. Had the better story. The story is what makes the difference. I think they were both Texas death matches. So they both had all the probably blood and violence and bullshit. But the Texas match had a much better story. Horatio Alger. Some people think Vince killed Owen because Brett left. Well, some people are fucking idiots. I hope that answers your question. Not that you had a question there, but if your question was, do I believe that? The answer is no. Vince McMahon is a lot of things, but no, I don't believe he intentionally killed Owen Hart. And anybody who does is an idiot. Aaron says, Elena is probably already one of the top women in the division, at least on name recognition. Wonder if she continues to improve and gets over, if WWE would want to give her another chance. Oh, I fully expect her to be back in WWE. I even said when she left, I mean, she's still very young. So unless she just didn't want to wrestle anymore, and obviously she does, Plenty of time for her to improve and work and go back to WWE, but she hasn't worked since she left. And I don't know. I think I remember her saying something online about having some mental health issues. So whether it was her mental health, whether it was a physical issue, if she hasn't been able to work, that's one thing, but she has to work. The only way you're going to get better is by working. So if WWE releases you and you don't work for a year, you're not going to grow. You're not going to get better. You're going to regress. So she has to start working matches and getting out there. And if she could work indies and do some indies as well. And if she does that, and if she starts to really build her name back up and improves, then absolutely WWE will give her another shot. I don't think there was any, malice when she left. I don't think she burned any bridges. Bobby Means, is Santana in a contract year or does he have a new deal? I've heard different things. My guess is he's probably locked in for most, if not all of this year, and then maybe he'll be a free agent if he chooses to become one. He's another one who I think is destined for NXT, NXT, WWE. Whether it's later this year or next year, he'll absolutely end up there. I'm sure they were very impressed by the work he did when he was working on NXT. Duff's Vids, I didn't get to see the Knockouts Tag Team title match because my feed went right back to commercials after 10 seconds from the previous commercials. I thought WWE was bad with commercials. Well, TNA is trying to be WWE, so they're doing a good job. Don't worry about the tag title match. You didn't miss much. Base Beer says Dixie Normus. Where's the cliffhanger? Where's the hot storyline? Don't know. I said the same thing about Dynamite last night. This is kind of a problem in wrestling in general right now. What is the hot storyline? What is the story or the feud that has everybody abuzz? Please show me. Deathside says Nick Nemeth will be the special guest referee for the Texas Death Match between Kaz and Santana. Nick Nemeth is walking out with the title, isn't he? So is that official? They're having a Texas Death Match? Yeah, I could see there being some fuckery this weekend. Did I watch TNA through VPN? No, I watched TNA. YouTube TV has AMC, so I didn't need one. Philip says, how would you have booked Finn Balor post-injury? Better than WWE. I would have had him winning matches and not being pinned. And not being made to look weak and less than. Although he was part of a pretty kick-ass intercontinental title match at WrestleMania 34. Deathside says, I meant to say out of Genesis. Yes, I suspected that's what you meant. Thank you, brother. Also, he says, sorry, I have consumed 14 Budweisers tonight and currently working on my 15th and finally my 16th. I think you may have a problem there, my friend. I think 16 should be the cutoff. I think you've had enough. I don't even know if he's still conscious. When did this super chat come in? I don't have a timestamp on this. Dorenzo.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Oh, Dorenzo, he knows the key to my heart. One of my favorite super chats. The $30 Mentos, the fresh maker. See, I feel like I would be able to tolerate these commercials on these wrestling shows a lot better if we had new Mentos commercials, because those were the best. Those were the corniest, cringiest, best commercials. They really were just the best. Even Asuka agrees. All the commercials we get these days, they just generally are just terrible. They suck. They're boring. Where's the creativity? We don't get creativity anymore. Hey, Dorenzo, thank you, brother. He says, hi, Solomonster. I just came back from that new 28 years later Bone Temple movie. It was awesome. It was so awesome. I felt generous enough to donate. Hope you're well. Was TNA any good? No, not really, unfortunately. And that's, hey, look, I wish that they would release a new 28 Days Later movie every week. And then we can get more Dorenzo drops here on the streams. But I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. I didn't even know there was a new 28 Years Later movie out. AJ Hernandez. Thoughts on WWE going back to bodybuilder types? Greater influx of smaller veterans heading to AEW. Yeah, I mean, there's a rumor that they're looking at... I think that was just a Meltzer observation, and people are running with it as if there's some new policy. I think that, you know, wrestling is best when you have lots of different body types and physiques and just types of wrestlers, and not everybody looks the same and sounds the same and wrestles the same. So, I mean, that's fine if you want to have some bodybuilder types, but don't recruit only bodybuilder types. And I don't think they are. I think that was just a generalization. So I don't necessarily believe that. I can believe, though, that when they're recruiting these college athletes, they're looking for guys that, and women, that are super athletic, come from a sports background, and maybe are making that a priority over just recruiting off the independent scene. I can believe that. And you know what? You look at someone like an Obafemi, who was a college athlete. He didn't work indies. He had no experience. In 3 years, look at where he is now. He's about to have a breakout year this year. He may be a world champion within a year. Now, not everybody is an Obafemi, but when you get an Obafemi, you get a Kendall Gray. You know, those are the kinds of people that you can build your brand around. Braun Breaker. Now, wrestling was in his family, but Braun Breaker also comes from a sports background in college. Super athletic. I'd want to recruit people like that too. Nash's worst gimmick. Oz, Vinny Vegas, or others, says Ryan Hood. Oh, I would say Oz. It didn't last very long. How many matches did he even have as Oz? Did he have more than half a dozen matches in that gimmick? Tuxedo T Servo, no message, just showing some love. $15 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Deathside says Cena's match with The Rock at WrestleMania 28 was better than his rematch at WrestleMania 29. The fact his WrestleMania 29 match won the Match of the Year Slammy over Punk and Undertaker was a joke. Yeah, the fix was in on that. And I say that as someone who was in the building for both those matches. That WrestleMania 29 match was ass. I hated that match. You know, people talk about finisher spam in wrestling. The worst example I've ever seen is that match. Between the finisher attempts and then the finishers themselves and then more attempts. That's all the match was. RDS Harry says the six-sided ring TNA used to have made them unique. It did, but it was also hell on your body. I don't think a lot of the wrestlers would like to go back to the six-sided ring. Bret Hart says the first episode I watched from TNA was in early 2010 when Samoa Joe was kidnapped by ninjas. I have not watched an episode since. He was kidnapped by ninjas, and when he reemerged, he had what appeared to be a penis tattoo on his face, and he had a sword. So, you know, it got even better. You missed the best part. And Luis, with a $10 super chat, Leon Slater not being there had everything to do. Leon Slater is having visa issues. So that was something that they made very clear on the show. Leon Slater, if WWE wanted to use him, though, let's say they wanted to use him on SmackDown tomorrow because they're going to be in the UK. I would imagine that, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine over there he could probably work. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we might get Leon Slater and Carmelo Hayes in a U.S. title open challenge? That'd be something, wouldn't it? I don't know about back-to-back losses, though. You know, he just lost to Obafemi. Now he would show up and lose to Carmelo Hayes. Kind of makes him look like a bitch if he goes to the other company and loses to two of their guys. Be a great match, though. And we have the four qualifying matches as well to determine who goes to the Fatal 4-Way next weekend at Saturday night's main event. So we'll see how that goes. Death Scythe. I'm still alive, and yes, 16 is my cutoff. Also, if they're going to bombard us with commercials, give us the AmeriQuest and Trojan advertisements. I'm telling you, man, if you have all these commercials, at least make them fun or funny. Leon will definitely be on SmackDown. I'm thinking he'll be... I think there's a very good chance he's going to accept that open challenge. Because him working in the UK, there wouldn't be any issue, you wouldn't think. Solo Sikoa will finish the story and win the title. Okay. That may be where I end my SmackDown reviews, if that happens. What does he need the title for? He's got the lantern. He stole the lantern from Uncle Howdy. And Aaron says, thoughts on the report on the rumored plan of Roman beating Drew and Cody as the challenger at WrestleMania. Feels like a rerun. I don't want Cody to win the Royal Rumble. It's all rumor and conjecture. I mean, that's all it is. And I'll talk more about all the different theories and rumors and reports on the Sound Off this weekend. But take nothing that you are reading at face value. Nobody knows for sure what is going to happen. I think WWE is putting a lot of bullshit out there. They're just flooding the zone with bullshit to kind of throw people off. Look, for all we know, we were bamboozled into thinking that Seth Rollins is going to be out longer than he is, and he'll show up and win the Rumble. No one's talking about Seth Rollins showing up and winning the Rumble. What if all this stuff about how, I'm going to start rehab in February and hopefully I'm back in April? What if it's all bullshit? You ever think about that? This is the guy who was in on a work, trying to work everybody in July about another injury. I put nothing past them. It's like when John Cena tore his pec in October of 2007. And that's an injury that you would expect he would be out for like 5 or 6 months. But it all depends on the severity of the pec tear. But we were led to believe that, like, he's not going to be back for the Rumble. And then, boom, he's number 30 in the Royal Rumble. It's not that he has mutant healing powers. It's just that I'm sure the pec tear was not as serious as it could have been, and they kept it very hush-hush. And it made for one of the biggest surprises in Rumble history because nobody was expecting him to walk out there at number 30. So I put nothing past these people. And Joseph Stewart is back. Do you remember the movie The Searches with John Wayne and Natalie Wood? Never saw it. You strike me as a big John Wayne fan, but that one I've not seen. Fistful of Dollars and True Grits, I've heard of those. Anyway, you guys hit that goal before. What is your favorite Jessica? I assume that means Alba. He said ALA. What is my favorite Jessica Alba movie? I don't think I have one. I know she had that show Dark Angel, but I don't know. What movie was she in? I don't think I've ever seen a Jessica Alba movie. All right, we hit the goal. I'm very proud of you guys. This is going to be, I believe, our first time ever doing Be the Booker on a Thursday, since I don't usually stream on Thursday. So let's make some history here, shall we? It's time to Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to Be the Booker.
Joseph says, Fistful of Dollars was Clint Eastwood. I got my Western actors mixed up. You are correct. Now here's a tag team. You talk about a badass team. This was the summer of '98. My favorite summers ever in wrestling. Everything just felt so red hot during that summer. Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin. This was right around the time I actually went to my first Raw in person. Stone Cold and The Undertaker are kicking us off here and Be the Booker. This is a good sign. We're off to a good start here. Oscar says, totally random, but where can I buy that Solomonster mug? Oh, this sweet mug right here with this sweet logo. Just go to my website. You go to the Solomonster.com. It's my link tree. The very last link on the actually, it's either the last one or second to last one. I think the last link is to my mother's children's book on Amazon. But there's a link there that says Get Mugged. And if you click that, you can buy the mug. All right, Undertaker and Stone Cold against Booker T and Goldust. See, that would make for some entertaining segments on television. Booker T and Goldust. Book Dust. Or the Golden Book against Austin and The Undertaker. I like it. See, that's a match that will draw me some money here on my card. And now we need a women's match that's going to draw me some money. This will not draw me some money. We have Nia Jax. This will not draw me any money. Nia Jax against Bird Girl. Lyra Valkyria. I like Bird Girl, but again, I need matches that are going to draw me some money here. The territory has been a little rough lately, and I don't want to say we're on our last legs, but we need to generate some business and some, an ass every 18 inches. I don't think that match is going to do it. We got to do better than that. Maybe our main event will do so. Oh, look. It's the human crash test dummy. Darby Allin. What ridiculous bump will he take in this match? He's in the main event. I mean, there's no telling what this guy will do. He's insane. Absolutely insane. Darby Allin against Booker T. Which is fine, but I mean, we just had Booker T. So we have Booker T pulling double duty here on this show. See, that's how you know you got a territory on the way down, when you've got guys pulling double duty on the same show. But Darby and Booker would be a good match. That'd be good. I guess no double be the Booker, says Julie. I didn't set a goal for tonight because I didn't know what kind of audience we would have. We actually had a pretty damn good audience. I don't know. Unless like a big bomb comes in, I think we're going to have to table that until tomorrow and try again tomorrow. We have the AJ Hernandez. Are you a Deadlock Wrestling podcast fan? I don't really have a lot of time to listen to other podcasts. I'm just so freaking busy with my own stuff. So I don't have much to offer on that. But I've been asked about that a few times. So obviously they have quite a few fans. So I've had a few people ask me about that. Joseph says Jessica Alba. Oh yeah, of course. Jessica Alba was in the Fantastic Four as Sue Storm. Of course, yeah. How did I forget that she's in the Fantastic Four? Michael Chiklis was in there. He's my favorite actor. Also, have you seen the Western They Call Me Trinity? I have not. 500 likes. Holy shit. Seriously, we did better on the Impact stream than we did on the Dynamite stream. I don't know what that says about Dynamite. Linkmaster X says, bigger disappointment, Sopranos movie or Joker 2? Well, I will say the Sopranos movie, but I did not see the Joker 2 because I was warned that it was terrible. So I never even bothered watching Joker 2. Sopranos movie, it was okay, but it was still, I found it a little disappointing though. So I have to go with that just because I didn't see the other one. And Joseph, again, thank you, brother. I hope you have a very good night. Look up the Trinity slap scene. All right, I may have to do that. Booker commentates his own match against Darby. That would be entertaining. As he throws Darby down a flight of stairs backwards. Never watched The Sopranos. We have to shame Javi. No, Javi, you've got to give that a shot. You've got to give that a shot. It's the greatest television show ever made. There wasn't a single episode of that show where I did not watch it with some just sense of dread hanging over me, not knowing what might come next. You know, what's funny is there were some episodes. There's one episode in particular called the test pattern, I think it was, or the not the test pattern, the test dream maybe. It's one of those episodes where you have this on a lot of TV shows where it's kind of like really out there, or maybe it's like a dream episode or something, and it's like, oh man, we got like a throwaway. And back in the day when you would have to wait an entire week for the next episode of a television show, it annoyed the fuck out of you. Now, when you can like binge stuff, it's less of an issue. But I've gained a greater appreciation for like those types of episodes over time. Like even one of my favorite shows is The Shield, and they had an episode like that I think in season 2 where it was like a throwback episode. And at the time, I didn't really appreciate it. I was like, man, I want to know what's going to happen next. Now they're going back in time. Now I got to wait 2 weeks, to get like a new episode. But it gave some really important backstory to the characters. And when I rewatched it years later, it's like, man, I gained like a new appreciation for that episode. I just think like in the moment, we're all so like, oh, I want it now. I want the next episode now. And you just sort of dismiss it, But those episodes are important for like story building and character building. Yeah, Gandolfini plays himself in that episode. What is his name? Kevin Finnerty in that episode. He loses the accent. And at the very end of the episode, they play that Moby song, which they actually played in the Stranger Things finale as well. Have I seen the Natalie Wood movie West Side Story? West Side Story? Yes, I've seen West Side Story. Please explain Sopranos movie. I had no clue. You should really look it up. It's been a while since I've seen it, and I don't want to spoil anything. You'll get better context if you just look up like a synopsis of it. I thought his son was good though. I mean, as far as like acting wise. I don't know if his son has done any other thing of note recently. Michael Gandolfini. Did I finish Stranger Things? I did, yes. Yes. I tweeted about it a few days ago. I got a question in the mailbag about it. I may just answer it on the Sound Off this weekend. If I share any thoughts. Try to keep it as spoiler free as I can, or if not, I'll warn you guys. So maybe I'll chime in on that on Sunday. But yeah, I finished it on Sunday night. I didn't realize the finale was like a movie. It's over 2 hours, just the last episode. Have I watched any Fallout? I have not, but I've been told that I should. I never played any of the Fallout games, but apparently the show is very good. Have I seen The Breakfast Club? Yes, of course I've seen The Breakfast Club. He was in Daredevil Born Again. Okay, Gandolfini. It's good to know. I didn't know if he was in anything of like real note. Your thoughts on the Un-Americans stable that lasted from June of 02 to March of 03? I didn't really care for it. Not really a fan. Zelda? There's a Zelda film coming out? Linkmaster says, remember when Phil transformed into a house? I remember him eating grilled cheese off the radiator. I remember that. Some of the characters in that show are just. I remember the 90-pound mole joke that Ralph told that caused a lot of problems on that show. I remember that. Third Rock from the Sun is the best show. I never watched it. I never watched Third Rock from the Sun. Have I seen the James Dean and Natalie Wood movie Rebel Without a Cause? I know that's a very famous one, but I have not seen it. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter is Dead. Yes, I did see that. I had a big crush on Christina Applegate, so if she was in it, I probably was going to watch it. I remember Dinosaurs. I used to watch that every week. Part of TGIF. Not the mama. Was I a James Dean fan? He was before my time. He seemed like a cool guy. I can't say I was a big James Dean fan, though. It's a little before my time. Linkmaster says Pyomai was a racing queen. He loved that horse. Tony loved that horse. Yeah, it's called The Many Saints of Newark. It's the title of the movie. Did I watch the original American Gladiators? Dude, I used to watch that every weekend, every Saturday. I think it would come on after Superstars. So I think I would watch wrestling from 12 to 1. And then from 1 to 2, they had American Gladiators. And I would watch it every single week. Did you know they never had the makings of a varsity athlete? Did you know the Fonzie character from Happy Days was based off of James Dean? That I kind of figured with the leather jacket and the hair and everything. Well, everyone, hope you have a good. As for, yeah, he's definitely drunk. As for me, I'm going to talk to God on the porcelain telephone. Don't use it as a telephone, though. Don't put your mouth to it. There's a lot of germs in there. Will you play the upcoming Halloween video game coming out this fall? We can play as a community. That would be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I probably would have an interest in playing it if it's on like Steam for the PC when it comes out. We'll see. Do you play as Michael or do you play as just like generic, you know, character number one? I don't know from whose perspective the game is from. When does the reboot of American Gladiators air? Oh, yeah, that's right. Forgot about that. The Miz is the host and Wardlow is on there, right? Is Camille one of the gladiators? Yeah, we haven't heard anything about that. It has to be airing this year. Forgot all about that. Well, we'll see if the Halloween game comes out on time or if the release date sticks for GTA 6, which is supposed to come out on November 19th. We'll see. Solo, your favorite sitcom of all time is the New York Mets. I don't know. For a while there, my favorite sitcom was TNA Impact. One player as Michael and 7 players as the victims. Oh, good. I could be Michael, and then I can kill everybody. I can kill all of you. That sounds like fun. All right, tomorrow, here's the plan. I'm going to be watching SmackDown at 3 o'clock Eastern with my ExpressVPN, which you can too, by the way. Got a good deal for you in the description down below. And then I'm going to go live, I'm thinking around 9 o'clock. Maybe 8:30, but probably plan for 9 p.m. We'll go live. We'll talk about SmackDown. We'll see who accepts the open challenge for Carmelo Hayes. We'll talk about all the qualifying matches. Drew McIntyre will be there as the WWE champion. So another day, another show. Hopefully you will join me for that. And Linkmaster says, Tony Soprano would have made a great WWF champion. I think he would have cut some pretty good promos. But see, his promo style wouldn't really fit in like the mid-90s. He's more of like an Attitude Era guy. But yeah, he would have been a pretty great character. I'll say that. All right, if you're a channel member, enjoy RSPW Rewind. If not, become a channel member, and then you can get access to it. Spent almost an hour going through these old posts, and man, some of these comments, I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but it certainly is something to go back and see what people were complaining about and talking about all those many years ago. And Luis says, let's three-peat Dodgers. Yeah, let's not. I don't think we need to see the Dodgers three-peat. Let's hope that doesn't happen. All right, hit that like button on your way out. And I will see you guys back here hopefully tomorrow. We'll do it all over again one more time. We got some SmackDown. Until then, take care, guys.